This is Jeannie at Trendy, and today I'm going to show you how to make this wreath. We used a denim mesh and the curly technique, which is very easy to do, a potted Gerbera daisy, and also made a bow. We'll give you the supply list of all the items that we use, and we'll show you exactly how to do this. Be sure, and while you're watching the video, take the opportunity to subscribe to our channel. There's a little link at the bottom right of your screen. All the supplies for this wreath, of course, came from Trendy. Okay, let's get to work. We're going to use the curl technique, and we're going to start out with this 10-inch mesh. It's 10 inches in width and 10 yards in length. This is a combination mesh. It has a base of a poly and then a jute thread, and we're going to cut strips 10 inches in length. It doesn't matter if you cut your mesh with a rotary cutter or scissors, it's going to ravel. When we get the curls attached, we are going to spray them with a spray adhesive to help reduce the raveling, but you're just not able to stop all of it. But we take the mesh, cut it in the 10-inch lengths, and then we're going to the mesh will just kind of naturally start to roll up. And we're going to go ahead and roll that mesh up till we have a curl like that. And we're going to take that cut edge of the mesh and hold it to the bottom and pinch it in the center. We're going to make a cluster of 3 curls like this and attach to the work wreath. I'm just going to put a clip around that curl for right now. This is a 24-inch work wreath. And on the 24-inch work wreath, the widest ring measures 15 inches across. But with the addition of your materials, you'll come out with a wreath that measures anywhere from 24 to 30 inches in width. So we're going to make another curl. If you've got somebody else working with you that can hold these as you roll them up, that's good. Sometimes you can kind of stick them between your fingers there. But you want a cluster of 3 curls. So you pinch those in the middle with your cut edge down, and then you can lay your curls on top of each other, but you can kind of lay them at an angle so that you have a cluster of 3, and then just open a twist. We're going to start on the outside. Just open the twist and pull the cluster of 3. And then just give your twist a couple of turns. Now, if this is the only thing that you're going to put on the wreath, you could do 3 or 4 turns. If you're going to add something else, which we might, we're just going to do a couple of turns for now. And then we're going to go all the way around the wreath with a cluster of 3 curls in each twist. There's a wreath after we've gone all the way around the outer ring with 3 layers of curls. Now we're going to move to the inner ring and do a cluster of 3 curls in the same manner. We've already cut up 1 roll of mesh. We will have to cut into the second roll of mesh to finish, but you should have some left over, and you can always use that to fill in any gaps or anything if you need to. There's our wreath after we finished our curls. Now our next step is to take this Elmer's Craft Bond spray adhesive, and we're going to spray the curls to help reduce the raveling. This is a messy procedure, so I'm just going to show you a couple of, I'm going to spray a couple of curls, and then I'm going to take it outside to finish. But you want to spray, just spray those curls, try to get to those cut edges if you can, and as you spray them, and you may have to do this more than once, kind of lift them out and kind of separate them. You don't want them to stick together, so just sort of separate them. They'll get tacky, and just separate them. And try to spray every cut edge if you can. It will help reduce the raveling. You may have to kind of re-roll a curl as you handle it also. But just kind of lift those out so they don't stick together. Right, now after you've sprayed your wreath, you will want to go back and kind of separate those curls to keep them from sticking together. Of course, you'll pull off some strings in this process. And also, you might want to test this product or another product on some scrap mesh in your area before you try it, because I would hate for you to try it and based on the humidity and heat in your area, that you wind up with a sticky mess. This does take a few minutes to dry, and after we've kind of separated everything, we're just going to set it aside and let it dry good, and then we'll come back to embellish it. We'll clip those strings after it's dry. Right now I'm just separating those curls out, re-rolling any curls that you need to. Because they will stick together. Next, we're going to add our embellishments. We're going to take this Gerber daisy. This is a salmon colored Gerber daisy, and it's a little ceramic-like pot. And we're going to position it on the wreath. We're going to secure it at an area that we can secure to one of those straight posts. So we're going to just kind of get a look of where we want to put it right now, but we want it to sit sort of like that. So what we'll have to do is put a chenille stem or something around the neck of the pot and secure that to the work wreath frame, and then we'll also have to put a chenille stem around these taller stems in the back and secure that to the work wreath frame too, so the pot will set up like this and not fall forward. Now, I don't like to put anything on my wreaths permanently because we take things apart. I like to take them apart and repurpose them. So I don't want to put anything on here that would permanently damage the flower pot. So I'm going to try using some chenille stems. I'm going to just wire those ends together so I get a long enough piece. It'll take about 3, I think. And you could do this, something stretchy would really be good. The problem with trying to put the chenille stems around, is once you get it on there, if the pot moves in any way, like if it comes up, the chenille stem is going to be too loose. So right now I'm going to put the chenille stem around the neck of the pot and go ahead and just twist it together. Now, you could apply some hot glue to keep that chenille stem in place. I'm going to cut a piece of my narrow ribbon. I have 3 different ribbons I'm going to use. A salmon colored 4-inch, a dragonfly 2.5 inch, and this denim and navy 1.5 inch. So I'm going to cut a strip of the 1.5 inch that's long enough that I can go around the chenille stem with the ribbon and try to help hold that in place. So I'm just going to bring that around to the back and just tie that in a knot. It won't be pretty, but it won't show from the back. So I'm just going to tie a knot. Okay. Now I'm going to put my flower pot sort of resting on top of that inner ring. I've got my longest stem to the back, and then I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to slip those chenille stems around this post area. That'll, I think, help keep it from slipping and sliding as much. See, it's already slipped down. But I think once I get one area connected, and then if I connect it at the top, connect these 2 stems at the top here, then maybe that will help hold it in place. So I'm going to take another chenille stem and just go around these taller stems. may have to put it on the wall to get it positioned just right, but I'm gonna try that for right now and see how that works. And if that works okay, then I'll put these chenille stems, I'll wrap them around the work wreath a little more to get them out of the way. You don't want your pot to fall off, of course. And I would say, you know, not use this on a door that was going to get slammed a lot. Maybe put it on a wall or something a little more stationary, because it's secured, but it's, you know, it could come loose. We don't want it to come loose. But I think that's going to be okay. Once you get your pot secured the way you want it, then you can put it on the wall, and then you can position your daisies however you want to do that. If you've got any curls pinched up, you might want to pull those up and free them out. Okay. Alright, we'll work on that more once we put it on the wall. There's our wreath after we got our pot secured, and like I say, the blossoms are wired, so you can just move those and shape those any way that you want to. And next we're going to make a bow for our wreath. We're going to make a bow using a 4-inch salmon color ribbon, 2.5-inch ribbon with dragonflies, and a 1.5-inch denim ribbon. The first thing we're going to do is, this is a bow dabra. This you can buy at Walmart. The bow dabra is just a plastic piece. My husband made this board. He just drilled some holes into the base and drilled it, secured it to the board, and I put some markings so I could measure my ribbon width. And then here's a little tool that you can, when you get your ribbon on here, you can press it down or scrunch it down a little bit. This piece is a ribbon holder that comes out of the Pro Bow maker. Now we sell those too, and sometimes we'll use one or the other, and sometimes we'll use a combination of both. But it holds your ribbon. So I'm going to start with my widest ribbon on this first spool, and you put your ribbon on where it's rolling off to the right. My second ribbon. And then the ribbon that will be on top is the most narrow, so it'll go on the last spool. So I'm going to go ahead and get all 3 ribbons, and you don't have, for my tails, and you don't have to use all 3 ribbons for your tails, but I'm going to. And this is not going to be a real fancy ribbon. It's going to be pretty simple. So I'm going to make about a 14-inch tail. So I'll cut that. Just grasp it in the center. I have all 3 layers face, right side ribbon face up, and I'm going to just slide that right into my bow dabra and just crunch it down. Bring those tails forward and just get them out of the way. Okay? Now, I'm ready to start with my ribbon. I've got my right side up. And I'm going to start, I'm going to have about a 3-inch tail on this side. I'm going to twist my ribbon to make my first loop. I'm going to make it about at a little beyond the 12-inch mark. You can make this as wide or as narrow as you want. Keep that ribbon snug. Pinch that down. Now I have to get the right side of my ribbon up again. Working with the 4-inch ribbon is a little harder. So I'm going to hold that in place, and I have to twist this side to get my right side up again. And then I'm going to come over here and make the same size loop on this left side. Bring it back to the center. Got my right side up still. Make sure my loops are about the same size. This one looks a little larger over here. Okay, now this next time I have to twist and bring my right side up again. I'm going to make this loop smaller. Twist, bring the right side up, and this time I'm going to make just a little small loop. That's going to be my center loop for my bow. My ribbon smooth. Okay, I'm going to take the little tool and just scrunch that down to make it as compact as I can. You're building your bow from the bottom up. Now I'm ready to end off my bow, end off my ribbon. So I'm going to leave about a 2-inch tail for right now. I'm going to cut that ribbon, get it away from my spool. That's going to be my center loop, so that's why I only did one small loop there. Now I'm ready to take the ribbon off my board, and I'm going to use a zip tie to secure it. These ribbons are just stacked right on top of each other, so very carefully I'm going to lift that up off the board, keeping them stacked, one right on top of each other. I'm going to take that zip tie and lay it down right beside that loop, and I'm going to bring that around to the bottom, keep everything stacked. And I'm going to pull that zip tie, but I'm not going to pull it completely tight. Just get it started. And then before I close that zip tie, I'm going to slide a chenille stem under it. So I'll have something to secure my bow to my wreath. And now I'm ready to tighten that zip tie. Everything is still stacked. Pull that tight as I can. Keep that to the back. Alright, and then I'm going to cut off that zip tie with wire cutters, the end of it. And now you've got tails coming to the front that are right side up, and then here's our loops. Going to fluff that out a little bit. Now, this little short end will be ended in the front. I'm going to cut that off shorter. Just make sure I don't cut it so close that my center loop pulls out of my zip tie. And then I'm going to take that center loop and just kind of push it over so it will cover up that raw edge right there. Now, the short end on the back where we started, I'm going to do the same thing. Just going to cut that off shorter, just not so short that it might pull out. Okay. So now we have our wreath bow. I'm going to finish off my tails by doing a chevron cut. I'm just going to fold it lengthwise and cut on the folded edge away from me. And finish off those ends. Do that on both sides. Okay, now your bow is finished and you have your chenille stem on the back to attach it to your wreath. Just attach your bow to the wreath form by attaching the chenille stem straight to the work wreath frame. And you can do your tails any way you want to. I kind of crimp them a little bit, but you can do that anyway. And you have enough ribbon left over if you'd like to, if you'd like to do some ribbon strips, you could. do some ribbon strips, you just cut your ribbons about 12 inches in length, fold it. Well, you can fold it bottom to top, and then lengthwise cut across the folded edge and have your chevron strip. Do that to all your ends. And if you wanted to add the strips, you could layer your ribbons any way. You could do 2 on top of each other. You could do all 3. You could just do it random. But the main thing about it is you pinch it together, have your right sides facing up, and to attach it to your wreath, you open a twist and go lay your ribbon strip down right on top of your curls. That's really important that you open that twist. We'll add a few ribbon strips using the Salmon and the Dragonfly ribbon. So I'm just going to lay my 2.5 inch on top of my 4 and just gather it up, pinch it in the center. I've already chevroned my ends, and then I'm just going to open a twist, lay the ribbons down where they're facing up, and this time, since this is the last thing I'm going to put in my wreath, I'm going to twist it 3 or 4 times. And if you don't want those twists on your pencil wreath to show, you can always tuck them, to the inside. You might not want to put them in every twist. You just have to experiment with it and see. You can have as much or as little ribbon as you want. And once you're all done, go back and clip any strings and fluff out your ribbons. And check your wreath from the back to make sure that you don't have any sharp edges from your chenille stems or zip ties or anything that might scratch your door or your wall. Well, there's our wreath. After we finished it, it measures about 28 inches in diameter. We added in a few ribbon strips and still had a little bit of ribbon left over. We hope you'll share our link with your friends, and before you leave, be sure to subscribe to our channel so you won't miss our next video coming out. And be sure to follow us on Facebook and Pinterest too. We have lots of wreaths posted on our Pinterest board that our customers have made, and they're just really gorgeous. Thanks for dropping in. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.